whipped. Do you know the expression
I'm
whipped?
familiar with the phrase.
I won't use the full expression. But Harry is whipped like no person I think I've ever seen. I'm not a fan of Meghan.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. And I wasn't right from the beginning.
Same
I think
to
poor
you.
Harry is being led around by his nose, okay?
You think it's going to end?
I do. I've been a very good predictor, as you know. I predicted almost everything. It'll end.
Hey everyone, in a characteristically unfiltered and incendiary interview with Piers Morgan, former President Donald Trump plunged headfirst into the most gossiped about royal rift of the decade, offering a brutal assessment of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex that was equal parts personal grievance and political provocation. With the blunt force that has defined his public persona for decades, Trump didn't just critique Meghan Markle, he eviscerated her, alluding to Prince Harry as being utterly dominated, whipped in his parlance, and issuing a grim, almost Shakespearean prophecy for the couple. It will end bad. Please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. This was not a passing comment from a disinterested observer. It was the latest, most venomous chapter in a long-running feud between the former president and the former actress. A clash of personalities and worldviews that has simmered for years and now boiled over on an international stage, revealing as much about Trump's own obsessions as it does about the Sussexes' polarizing place in the global imagination. The origins of the bad blood are deeply personal for Trump, rooted in a perceived snub that he has seemingly been unable to forget. The flashpoint was the 2019 state dinner hosted by President Trump for Queen Elizabeth II, a pinnacle of diplomatic pomp and circumstance. The absence of Harry and Meghan from the event became a focal point for Trump, who interpreted it not as the understandable choice of new parents. Meghan had just given birth to Archie and was on maternity leave, but as a deliberate and personal insult from the Duchess. In Trump's worldview, where loyalty and deference are paramount currency, this was an unforgivable act of Lee's majesty, a rejection of his power and status. His recent comments to Morgan are less a political analysis and more the airing of a long-held, very public grudge, a settling of a score from half a decade ago. By framing Harry as whipped, Trump is deploying a classic, if dated, misogynistic trope, one that suggests weakness in the prince for being influenced by his wife, and places the blame for the couple's choices squarely on Meghan's ambition and manipulation. It is a narrative that perfectly suits Trump's style of politics. Reductionist, personal, and designed to provoke a visceral reaction from his base, who see Meghan as the ultimate symbol of a woke, liberal elite they despise. Yet Trump's vitriol transcends the personal and taps into a broader cultural war that the Sussexes have come to embody. His prediction that it will end bad is not just a throwaway line, it is a pronouncement meant to reinforce his own narrative of strength and independence, set in stark opposition to what he perceives as the couple's weakness and dependency on their victimhood narrative. For Trump, a man who built a brand on the illusion of invincible, self-made success, the Sussexes' story of fleeing an institution, monetizing their trauma, and seeking both privacy and global fame is the antithesis of his own. They represent a form of modern celebrity he disdains, one built on vulnerability and public introspection rather than bombastic displays of wealth and power. His attack is therefore a strategic one, aligning himself with a significant portion of the public on both sides of the Atlantic who are weary of the Sussex saga, and reinforcing his image as a straight shooter unafraid to take on sacred cows, even fairy tale princes and their American brides. The fallout from Trump's comments is a microcosm of the modern media landscape. For his supporters, it was another episode of Trump saying what everyone is thinking, a refreshing dose of reality from a politician unconstrained by polite convention. For the Sussexes and their defenders, it was the latest in a long line of toxic, sexist, and racially tinged attacks from a figure they see as a demagogue. And for the vast audience in between, it was another piece of combustible content thrown onto the endless bonfire of culture war content, ensuring the Sussexes remain a fixture in the headlines and a litmus test for people's views on everything from gender roles to media integrity. Ultimately, Trump's interview was never really about Harry and Meghan's marriage. It was about Trump himself, his grievances, his worldview, and his uncanny ability to insert himself into the center of any conversation, ensuring that even in the realm of transatlantic royal gossip, he remains, as always, the main character.
This was a necessary comment from Trump, but he's who he is. He's giving us entertainment, even if it's not necessarily very highbrow. And unfortunately, you know, Harry has no comebacks. This is a couple that said that they wanted their privacy and then did everything in their power to not get their privacy. I can't imagine anything that shatters their privacy more than the leader of the United States calling your wife terrible, which is like, it's just hilarious. Who can deny that?
Well, I've got to say, I mean,
again, you mentioned Schadenfreude, or the opposite in...
Hey folks, in a political and cultural climate where the personal and the public are perpetually entangled, the recent commentary by writer and broadcaster Esther Krakue on the potential immigration woes of Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, offers a sharp lens through which to view the absurdities of modern celebrity, media, and power. The discussion was ignited not by a formal policy announcement, but by a passing remark from former and potential future President Donald Trump, who stated he would not deport Prince Harry should he return to the White House. This seemingly off-the-cuff assurance, however, was a response to a very real and simmering question. Could the prince's admitted past drug use, detailed extensively in his memoir Spare, legally bar him from residing in the United States? The core of the issue lies in the intricate and often unforgiving framework of U.S. immigration law. On visa application forms, specifically the DS-160 for non-immigrant visas and forms for permanent residency, applicants are asked pointed questions about past drug use and addiction. Knowingly providing false information on these documents constitutes immigration fraud, a serious offense that can lead to deportation and a permanent ban from the country. Prince Harry, in his own candid words published for global consumption, admitted to using cocaine, cannabis, and psychedelic mushrooms. This created a glaring contradiction between his public confessions and the legal requirements for his visa, which was granted in 2020, likely on an O1 visa for individuals of extraordinary ability. Esther Krakue's analysis cuts to the heart of this paradox. She rightly identifies the central tenet of the debate, the principle of equality under the law. Her argument posits that if an ordinary immigrant from anywhere else in the world, be it Jamaica, Nigeria, or Guatemala, had publicly authored a book admitting to the same illicit substance use, their visa application would almost certainly be rejected, or if discovered later, their status revoked. The notion that wealth, title, and global fame could act as a get-out-of-jail-free card strikes at the very foundation of a fair legal system. Krakue's perspective challenges the unspoken rules of an increasingly stratified society where a different set of laws appears to apply to the elite, a phenomenon often decried but rarely so blatantly illustrated. This is where Donald Trump's intervention becomes profoundly significant, and Krakue's commentary serves to highlight its theatrical nature. Trump's statement was not a legal ruling, but a political performance. By publicly ruling out deportation for a specific famous individual, he was simultaneously playing multiple roles: the magnanimous king bestowing a pardon, the populist leader tapping into public fascination with the Sussex saga, and a master media manipulator inserting himself into a global news cycle with minimal effort. His comment made at the Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC, was less about immigration policy and more about reinforcing his own image as the ultimate arbiter, a man whose personal whim can override bureaucratic procedure. Krakue's discussion likely extends beyond the legal hypocrisy to question the very foundation of Harry and Meghan's project in America. Their brand is built upon a narrative of victimhood at the hands of a rigid, archaic institution seeking freedom and a more progressive life in the US. Yet their continued residence hinges on the approval of the state and, as Trump's comment reveals, is potentially subject to the capricious will of its political leaders. The irony is thick. Having escaped the confines of the British monarchy, the Duke now finds his fate potentially tied to the pronouncements of an American political monarch figure. This dependency fundamentally undermines the image of liberated, independent arbiters of truth they have carefully cultivated. Furthermore, the entire episode is a potent distraction, a point Krakue would undoubtedly emphasize. In a nation grappling with a severe crisis of opioid addiction and overdoses, a broken asylum system, and perennial legislative gridlock over meaningful immigration reform, the spectacle of debating the visa status of one very privileged prince is a circus sideshow. It consumes oxygen better spent on systemic issues affecting millions. The media's obsession with this hypothetical scenario, fueled by Trump's knack for spectacle, exemplifies how celebrity culture can eclipse substantive discourse. In conclusion, Esther Krakue's dissection of the Trump-Harry visa saga is about much more than a royal's immigration paperwork. It is a critique of a world where law and justice are increasingly perceived as malleable concepts for the powerful. It highlights the performative nature of modern politics, where a viral soundbite soundbite holds more weight than policy, and it exposes the profound irony at the heart of the Sussexes' new American life. Their cherished freedom and security are contingent on the very structures of power and privilege they claim to have left behind. The discussion ultimately serves as a reminder that in the high-stakes theater of fame and politics, the rules are often just suggestions, unless of course you lack a title, a fortune, and a famous name.
Look, Donald Trump has revealed he will not be deporting Prince Harry from America, despite questions, of course, about how he secured his visa due to his past drug use. But the best part of all this, Brad, is that Trump said he won't deport the royal because, quote, Harry's got enough problems with his wife. She's terrible. Now, Brad, well, look, from my perspective, he was just saying what the rest of the world is thinking. What do you reckon?
Zero lies detected. I mean, it's funny because Trump is such an immigration hardliner, but even he, again, it is really comical. I mean, you can say a lot of things about Trump, but you can't say that he is not hilarious. And he probably is the funniest president we've ever had, or at least the funniest one in public. Maybe some of them were really funny behind closed doors, but just didn't say things. What a wild thing to say, but
in a characteristically unexpected intervention into the ongoing saga of the British royal family, former US President Donald Trump has publicly declared that he would not support the deportation of Prince Harry from the United States should he return to the White House. This statement, made amidst a swirling controversy over the Duke of Sussex's visa application and his admitted past drug use, thrust the private immigration matter of a high-profile individual into the fierce arena of American political discourse, highlighting the unique and often surreal intersection of celebrity, royalty, and statesmanship. The controversy stems from admissions Prince Harry made in his best-selling memoir, Spare, and in various media interviews. He wrote candidly about using cocaine, cannabis, and psychedelic mushrooms in his youth. Under Section 212A2 AIII of the U.S. Immigration and Nationality Act, foreign nationals can be deemed inadmissible if they admit to committing acts that constitute the essential elements of a violation of any U.S. federal law relating to a controlled substance. This raised a straightforward legal question. How did Prince Harry, who resides in Montecito, California, with his wife, Meghan Markle, and their 2 children, secure his visa? Typically, such matters are private, handled discreetly between an applicant and U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS. However, the conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation, has been engaged in a legal battle to force the Department of Homeland Security to release Harry's visa application records through a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit. Their argument is one of principle, that a famous individual should not receive special treatment or a waiver that would be denied to an ordinary applicant, and that the public has a right to know if immigration laws are being applied equally. It is into this simmering legal and political debate that Donald Trump injected his voice. During an interview, he was asked directly about the issue. His response was a blend of political posturing and a curious kind of royalist deference. While making it clear that he was no admirer of Harry's, particularly criticizing the prince's treatment of his family and the late Queen Elizabeth II, Trump drew a line at deportation. "I wouldn't protect him," Trump stated, distancing himself from any notion of offering favor. "He betrayed the Queen. That's unacceptable. He's been terrible on some things, but we'll have to see if they know something about the drugs. If he lied, they'll have to take appropriate action." However, he ultimately concluded, "But I won't make that a part of what I do. No, I wouldn't deport him." This pronouncement is significant for several reasons. First, it comes from a former president who remains the dominant figure in the Republican Party and a likely candidate in the upcoming election. His views on immigration are a cornerstone of his political identity, built on a platform of strict enforcement and America First nationalism. For him to explicitly rule out deporting a high-profile immigrant, especially one who has admitted to drug use, a topic he has often taken a hard line on, is politically noteworthy. It suggests that even for Trump, the unique status of royalty, or perhaps global celebrity, creates an exception to his own rhetorical rules. Second, Trump's statement effectively prejudges a hypothetical administrative process. By declaring his stance, he politicizes an issue that is meant to be adjudicated by civil servants based on law and precedent, not by the whims of a political leader. It reinforces a perception that immigration outcomes can be swayed by personal connections, public fame, or political considerations, a charge often leveled at systems around the world. The legal pathways for Harry's visa, absent any special dispensation, are plausible. Immigration experts have pointed out that his admission likely pertained to past use, not being a current drug abuser or addict, which is a different legal standard. Furthermore, given his marriage to an American citizen and his professional ventures, he likely entered on either a spousal visa or an O-1 visa reserved for individuals with extraordinary ability. For such visas, a past drug use admission does not necessitate an automatic denial. It can be waived at the discretion of adjudicating officers. The most common waiver involves proving rehabilitation, a process that could involve letters of reference, proof of stable family life, and a clean record for a significant period. All things Prince Harry could arguably demonstrate. Donald Trump's revelation that he would not deport Prince Harry is less a legal analysis and more a cultural commentary. It underscores the bizarre reality where the immigration status of a British prince becomes a talking point in the American presidential race. It highlights the blurred lines between law, privilege, and politics. For Prince Harry, the statement offers a temporary shield from one potential, albeit always remote, political threat, but it also ensures his private legal matters remain a very public spectacle. The episode serves as a reminder that in the modern world, the fortunes of a duke are inextricably linked to the whims of a demagogue, and the opaque workings of the US immigration system can become a stage for a political performance that has little to do with the letter of the law and everything to do with the spectacle of power, celebrity, and the enduring, complicated American fascination with royalty. The question is no longer just about what was on a form, but about who holds the keys to the kingdom and who they choose to let stay.
I've gotten to know a lot of the family members. They're great people. They're really great people. And in that sense, I think that the UK is very lucky. You could have people that weren't great people. I don't know if I'd say that, but you could have people that weren't.
In the grand, often absurd theater of modern geopolitics and celebrity, few things are as reliably entertaining as watching worlds collide. This week, a particularly hilarious clip served up a prime example, as former US President Donald Trump took aim at one of his favorite targets, or more precisely, two of them, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. The moment, dissected with gleeful precision by News Corp columnist Angela Mollard, was less a political missile and more a perfectly thrown pie, dripping with the schadenfreude so many have come to relish whenever the Sussexes are mentioned. The clip in question, likely from one of Trump's rally stages or a Truth Social broadcast, captures him in his element. He's not delivering a policy critique, he's performing a roast. The subject, Prince Harry's swift and very public ejection from the protective security detail he feels, is his birthright, a decision he is legally challenging against the UK Home Office. With the timing of a seasoned stand-up, Trump seizes on the irony, quipping something to the effect that Harry was shown the door for being an ingrate or some other characteristically Trumpian epithet. The delivery is pure Trump, the exaggerated pause, the raised eyebrow, the crowd's roaring approval. It's political commentary filtered through the lens of a reality TV producer. Angela Mollard's reaction, as one would expect from a commentator with her finger firmly on the pulse of both royal and celebrity culture, is not one of outrage, but of vindicated amusement. For columnists like Mollard, and for a significant portion of the public, the Sussex saga long ago ceased to be a tragedy and transformed into a high production value farce. Trump's jab, therefore, isn't seen as a cruel attack from a powerful figure, but rather as the most public possible echo of a sentiment muttered in living rooms and pubs across the world. Well, what did they expect? Mollard would rightly pinpoint the core of the joke's effectiveness, its undeniable kernel of truth. Harry and Meghan's entire brand, post-royal exit, has been built upon a paradox of staggering proportions. They demanded privacy while signing 9-figure deals with Netflix and Spotify to reveal their private lives. They decried the toxic machinery of the British press while hiring a Pulitzer-winning ghostwriter and sitting for an Oprah primetime special and a 6-part Netflix documentary to tell their story. They sought independence from the institution, yet have clung tenaciously to the titles that institution bestowed upon them, leveraging their royal status for commercial and global influence. Trump's swipe cuts to the heart of this paradox. By highlighting the security debacle, he underscores the ultimate consequence of wanting to have your royal cake and eat it too. You cannot, his joke implies, spend years publicly eviscerating the very system that provides you with privilege, prestige, and protection, and then be shocked when that system, now under new management, decides you're no longer worth protecting on the taxpayer's dime. It's the punchline Harry and Meghan seemingly wrote for themselves. Furthermore, Mollard would appreciate the beautiful irony of the attacker himself. himself. Donald Trump, a man who has built a career on grievance and perceived slights, calling out someone else for being an ingrate is a moment of breathtaking lack of self-awareness. It's the pot not just calling the kettle black, but launching a multi-platform media campaign against it. This layer adds to the comedic value, making the clip less a serious political point and more a surreal piece of performance art where two of the world's most famous narcissists briefly orbit each other in a universe of their own creation. The public's reaction, as channeled by commentators like Mollard, is fascinating. It's not necessarily an endorsement of Trump. Instead, it's a collective chuckle at seeing the Sussexes' carefully constructed narrative of victimhood punctured by a blimp-sized needle. For years, mainstream criticism of Harry and Meghan has been cautiously framed, often tempered with acknowledgments of their mental health struggles to avoid accusations of racism or meanness. Trump, operating by his own rules, demonstrates no such caution. He says the quiet part loud, giving voice to the exasperation of those who are simply tired of the couple's endless drama. This hilarious clip and the reaction it provokes are about more than just a former president mocking a prince. It is a symptom of a broader Sussex fatigue. The world initially offered its sympathy, its tissues, and its support, but the couple, in their relentless pursuit of monetizing their grievances, have overstayed their welcome in the court of public opinion. The narrative has shifted. They are no longer the victims of a cold, uncaring monarchy. They are global celebrities of their own making, and with that comes a different set of rules, including becoming fair game for late-night jokes and, yes, punchlines from a podium in Florida. Donald Trump, the master of branding, has effectively branded them with the one thing they fought against: absurdity. And in doing so, he gave Angela Mollard and millions watching permission to finally laugh at the whole ridiculous spectacle. The tragedy is over. The farce has well and truly begun. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please do not forget to leave your thought in the comment section. See you next time. Thank you for watching.